Hey everyone, this is Proelios. I am back with another VOD review, and this time we've got a low plat racer looking for coaching. Um, this has been submitted on Overwatch University by the user Clockwork69. They are a tracer and soldier player, looking for someone preferably diamond or higher to coach them because that's where they aspire to play. Um, they think their mechanics are good but need help with positioning, playing around their counters, and playing with their tanks if they need be. So they feel like they're too attracted to the enemy backline and just feel like playing over there rather than playing with their tanks if they need be, and sometimes struggle to get value and just die too quickly. So we are going to try to help this player out. But before I get started, uh, since you've mentioned that you would prefer someone diamond or higher to coach you, I'm myself on DPS. I'm a mid plat player, and like but I have my peak on across all roles is high diamond on tank. I play off tank mainly, so that's my peak. I focus way more on gameplay analysis rather than playing the actual game. So I'm one of those people with like bad mechanics and just game sense and game knowledge to rely on. So I pretty much try to live and breathe analysis. Although I don't put out a lot of public content, I do occasionally coach the odd person or friend, uh, like review Overwatch League VODs. Like I haven't really shared much of that, but anyway, like if you're open to this, that'll be great. If you find that I'm not coaching you well or anything, just feel free to let me know. Like even I would like to improve as a VOD reviewer, so any feedback will be amazing. Um, Alright, so the player in question is the tracer on the red team, that's Rick Cardenas, and we're going to see if we can help them out. So as you can see, their team is starting out on attack, Hollywood A. Let's look at the team comp first. What heroes are you running? So you've got Ryan Winston, which is not an ideal tank line. You've got like you can make tons of space with them, but they don't achieve much as a single unit. You've got Tracer and Genji on DPS and Ana Lucio on support. So I think I think this could be a really amazing dive comp if your Ryan swapped out and went Diva, or in a slightly less ideal but still workable scenario went Hammond. But this is still okay. You've got main tanks, you've got a main healer, you've got an off support, so a defensive ult. So it's still a pretty good comp, all things considered. The enemy team is running Rhine Sigma, so that's also pretty shield heavy tank line. They have got Tracer and Soldier on DPS, which is fine, and they've got Moira Ana on support. So they've got tons of healing with them, and they've got tons of barriers to put in your face. Luckily as Tracer you don't have to bother too much about the barriers. Anyway, so let's see what synergies can you exploit on here. So you've obviously got the the pieces of a good dive comp right here. So if you can just follow up on your Winston's dives, clean up the enemy backline after he dives into them, that's like the true synergy that you can exploit in this comp. um, and as Tracer, your responsibility is actually just to harass the enemy backline and try and get picks on the Ana or the Moira, I would say. And draw their resources. Like if you can draw the enemy Ana's anti-nade and their sleep dart, that's tremendous value even if you don't finish off the Ana yourself. So I'm hoping you try and do that, and let's see what happens here. There's on the left. We're checking that Tracer. She recalls. Okay. Let's go back and see what happened there.
Ready for battle. 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Alright, so you guys approach the choke. Your Winston takes the high ground, which is a good move. You see that they have a tracer on the left side. Your monkey just beaming them down. So you just decide to go after the tracer. Your Genji gets picked off, he overextends. His bad. Your Ryan gets antied, forced back, and eventually finished off. You get a bit over aggressive. I don't like that. I don't like that. Like you did this, and you decided to go after the tracer, which under normal circumstances would have been a good move. Like if you were able to just finish off and recall. However, she wasn't very low on health, so you just ended up wasting a blink and a recall, trying to get into the middle of the enemy team basically, which is not a good move. As tracer, you always want to be more sneaky, like behind. You never want to be in the center of the action, unless the fight gets really scrappy. That's what I mean. So not the ideal position to be in, but I mean you lost the fight. Not like you could have carried your way out of there unless you're like freaking Kabaji or something. Yeah, that's the fight. I think if your Genji wasn't picked off, this fight would have gone a different way. Your monkey is just sleeping over here. What happens then? It's indeed and costs you valuable seconds. Alright, let's see what happens. Just poking around shield. This is fine. You could try and go around the back. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Risky. Risky. I mean, let's go back since you're no longer in the action. Sorry if this is kind of like a new review style, by the way. I like to watch the team fight as a whole happen and then go back and see check the nuances of it basically. So let's play through this. Here you're just poking and prodding, then you go on the high ground, try to contest their tracer. Your Winston dives in. You should dive in with him. So I think what your approach as tracer is to check the enemy flankers first. And like remember that your job, especially in a composition like this, is to dive in with your Winston. Like you've got Ana and you've got Lucio in your backline. It's the Lucio's job to take care of the Ana and check the enemy tracer. So you can just go in and get picks, because the longer you stay with your own team in your own backline, the longer it's gonna take for your team to capture the point. And since you're on attack, you need to play more aggressively, I would say. Let's see what happens. Again, you try to help your Ana. Okay, so you finish her off here, which is good. It's fine. Sigma's low here. Sigma's low. The Moira's healing him. You're just trying to deal damage to the Moira. Now switch targets to Soldier. Soldier gets pinned. The Moira dies. Mm. It's not too bad. I think what's happening is you're having trouble deciding when to go aggressive and when to play passively. So usually until and unless that racer is out of your backline or is dead, you choose to stay in your backline and like protect your honor instead, which is not really your job. So just keep that in mind. I won't stress on it continuously unless it keeps on happening. Let's see. Otherwise, I think you played fine over there. Nothing much you could have done. Like there was the honor on the high ground over here, which I would have prioritized, but it was a bit hard to get to her considering all the damage the Moira was doing with Coalescence. And just kind of the lack of space you had to get in there safely, securely, even with the Sigma spamming. So it's fine, not too big of a deal. I don't like that pulse bomb you used in the end. It was really, it was risky. We invest speed. Are we gonna be back in the fight? Let's see what happens. I'm not too concerned about what your team is doing. I want to see what you do. I think we win this fight. Yeah, we win this fight. Yeah, I like this. Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
Escort the payload.
I think your comp is doing fairly well for the like slightly disjointed tank line that you've got. But I think the synergy is still there. I think you do need to engage a bit more with your Winston because like when he jumps, he deals that initial 50 damage. If he knows, if he melees, he does that additional 30. So he can do 80 damage on impact, and you can just burst down the targets that he dives with your pulse pistols. I think that's what they're called. Yeah, pulse pistols. Um, so yeah, just follow up more on him. And on this map, since your Winston, it's like so. Wait, let's talk about this. So this is the primary high ground that you have access to as Tracer. You can easily take this route and get up here. And when your Winston dives in, you actually have free access to dive wherever the heck he dives because you're on the high ground. If you like if you're up here, you can certainly blink and access this high ground. You can double blink maybe and reach over here, and if you recall, you'll be again on the safety of the high ground. So you need to do that more often. Like just engage with your Winston, like really exploit the synergies that are already present in your team comp. Like, and if the Genji follows up on the Winston as well, you'll literally get easy picks and turn every fight into a 5v6. So on the next phase, what should we do on the second phase as Tracer? I would say get to this elevator, take the high ground. Always control this high ground if like no matter which side you're on Hollywood. It's really underrated on ladder but it's extremely powerful. Like if you watch pro play, like everyone will be fighting over the high ground. They'll just sometimes forget the payload. Just take the high ground, win the fight, get back on the payload. So I want to see you doing that. Let's see if you end up going up there. If you can, then you can dive the Ana from the high ground and again recall up there, like I said before. It seems like your team's already cleaning up. Yeah. Disengage. Yep. That's okay. Nice. Very nice. Clean up. So yeah, I'm not gonna break that fight down in much detail because considering the positioning both teams started at, I think you did fairly well. You managed to check that Tracer on the right side, which was, I don't know if you were just going for a flank or if you anticipated the enemy Tracer to be there, but either way you took her out and that's a job well done. And you also cleaned up really well, and I'm happy you stayed with your tanks in this fight since the enemy team got really aggressive, and At times like these, they can, like, they can have their guard down, and that's when you can really deal a lot of burst damage and then farm up your pulse bombs as well. So yeah, that's pretty good. Let's move on to the next fight. Ooh. We disengaged. We disengaged. We don't even think about fighting this. Mm. Okay, that's good. But I am going to go back here. Um, let's see this. A bit further back. We focus the Winston. He's half. Genji goes in with the Nano Blade. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That was good play. I went back to check the enemy Reinhardt's health because so I thought that he was below half health when you engaged the Tracer, when the Tracer was low. Where we could have finished the Rhine off, but no, he was. Turns out he got healed on time, so never mind. That was a good play by you. Nice try. Okay, what would I have done there?
I am ready to activate the sound barrier.
Moira. Okay. So over here the Moira has just faded. You have just missed your melee, but you know she's extremely low since you yourself brought her to low health. And then you decide to go that way. You should have just gone back and finished her off. Like, I know you're Winston in this instance, but I would have preferred had you just fallen back and finished the Moira off, and then continued dealing damage. How the hell are you there? Okay. Go for the Ana, you get slept. That's too bad. That's too bad. There could have been better ways to do that, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. Okay, you're back in the fight. We've lost the fight. We should disengage. I hope you don't pulse. I think you know your mistake here. You probably know your mistake here. You're going in. Your Lucio's just been killed. Your Ain's already dead. Your Genji dies as well. Your Winston primals when he shouldn't. You see a juicy opportunity to get the Ana. Use your pulse, but miss and die. Again, we were 3 down. We shouldn't have used our pulse there because clutching out a fight like that is nearly impossible. Especially considering that the enemy spawn is way closer than your spawn over here. So, yeah, just don't take engagements so short-handed. Like, even your Winston primal, maybe that's what motivated you to use the pulse bomb over there. But I mean, it's just based on judgment, right? You can't win a 2v5 or a 2v6. Go forward.
Group up.
Forward a bit. I mean, I know you said you are attracted to using to going in enemy backlines rather than staying with your tanks, but I'm seeing something different here. Like, you are staying with your tanks a decent bit, and in this case, I think you should have done the opposite and gone for the enemy Ana. I mean, yeah, you did check the trace over here. That's okay. Let's just look at the enemy positioning. We know that the Winston and the Moira are here. Your Winston just gone again. Like, it bothers me that you're not with your Winston more often, because that's where, like I said, the main synergy of your team lies. Like, the Reinhardt he's just there. He's gonna buy you space, but if you have a Winston, just go in with him, and you'll just finish off targets so much quicker. You know what this bug is. So you apply some damage to Winston. You just decide to go in with your Ryan and fight it out. Moira and Cole is hard to kill. The Winston pops primal. Their Moira's dead. Ryan's dead. Again, we are tempted to go after the Tracer. And turns out that our Winston happens to change position at the same time. So at this point, both of you end up diving the same target, which is good for you. And then you manage to finish off the soldier. Really scrappy, this gameplay. I mean, I'm not just talking about you, I'm just talking about overall. That's fine. We just wait for our McCree to get back, and then we engage. And again, I'll say, like, we should definitely take that high ground, because, like, okay, let's take the camera there. Imagine if you were up here, like, let's say with your Winston, and now you don't have a Genji, but let's say you were up here with your Winston. You have easy access to the enemy backline. Like, sure, these guys are here to protect her, but that's the point of a dive, right? Like, you have to time it right, and you have to jump the right target. So if you just engage with Winston and at least pressure the Ana, force her to use her nade or her sleep, and then recall back up here if things don't work out, that's still like massive value, because like, not having nade, not having sleep, that makes the enemy team want to play more passively, rather have to play more passively, and that's still, like, you've done your job there basically. Anyway, right now it's final fight. I don't think anyone's going to take the high ground. They've got their nanovisor. They might combo that. And let's see what we do here. Okay, I like this. Unlucky. We need a health pack. I hope we get the health pack. Yeah, we get it. Your team has just won you the fight. I like this. This is good. Very good. Oh, come on. Oh. We'll just watch the last few seconds of this. Yeah. Good. Further back. Yeah, you go after the low health Winston. That's fine. We are low. We back up. Right decision. Okay, we see Winston diving Ana. We try to deter him from killing her. That's fine. Good job. We check the racer again. We are naded. We are still intent on checking Tracer. And the Tracer dies. Our next target. We move on to the soldier. You know, although you did, like, completely ignoring the fact that I know that you finished the sauna off. Now that I look more closely, that soldier was like super low. You could have just like blinked in or just like walked in, finished him off, and then gone for the honor. Because that's just one more element that your team gets, and that makes it easier for you to push. So, I mean, it's not too big of a deal, but maybe that could have helped you min-max your value a little bit more. It's okay though. You go after the honor, finisher. The soldier's doing more work. You get hooked and you get finished off, and your team loses. Loses the fight.
Round 1 complete.
Okay, so far what I'm seeing is I like that you like developed a playstyle for yourself, which is protect, like check the enemy tracer. I don't know if I don't know if the idea with you is to check the enemy tracer or to protect your backline. If it's the first, I completely understand. Like, everyone has their own playstyle. Some tracers prefer to duel the enemy tracer and take them out. Some tracers prefer to farm pulse bombs from enemy tanks. Some tracers prefer to just stay in the enemy backline. And you're clearly in the first category. You want the enemy tracer to be out before you get to work. Like, before you get to their backline. So I hope that's the plan in mind, and not that you have to stay back and protect your backline, because that's really not your job as tracer. Like, your off support or your off tank will have to do that. So yeah, or the DPS, depending on who the second DPS is. So if it's like a McCree or it's a May, then they can handle your backline. Another thing, like, remember, just dive in with your Winston as often as you can. There are some positions where you won't be able to reach with your Winston. In those cases, you can just farm tanks, or stay with your other tank, or just stay in your backline, wait for your blinks and your essentially your cooldowns to reset. But so far, not too bad.
For battle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Okay.
Defend objective
Your comp. So you're running Ryan Hammond this time. Hammond's okay on this point for defense. He does have some decent grappling opportunities. He can, like, what I usually like to do is stay here, and then when the enemy comes through the choke, I grapple you and land the pilot. Anyway, we are not the Hammond, we are the Tracer. So how is this comp good for you? Again, instead of a Winston, you've got a Hammond, so you can actually just stay on this high ground before a fight. And when your Hammond engages, you engage with him, His pile driver does 100 and he'll immediately start gunning people down. So 100 plus your burst damage again. Easy kill on an enemy squishy, enemy support. So you should try and do that as often as possible. And when you recall again, you'll be sitting pretty up here on the high ground once again. So then you've got a Ryan Taub, which is fine. Taub is actually pretty good on this point. He's got started there. Not my favorite spot, but it's fine. Ana Lucio, again, solid backline. The enemy team is running Ryan Hogg, it seems, with Tracer, Soldier, Moira, and a question mark. Anyway, let's see what you're doing. Let's see what you're doing. Just farm tanks. Get an idea of what they have before we do anything too aggressive. Your top's down though, so okay, good. So the second support went Ana. They have the same backline. Nice finish, nice finish. I still want to go back here. Let's take a look at something. So the playstyle with Tracer, like where you stay behind like your Reinhardt or your Orisa in some cases, it's actually pretty viable now because of Tracer's range buff, which he got a few patches ago. So you can still, you know, be kind of like a Soldier 76 at that distance. And I like that this time you chose to play around your Reinhardt. I think that was the right move to do. Firstly, because we don't exactly know what they're running in the first 15 seconds. So you should always be cautious. And secondly, because they didn't seem to have an easily flankable target right in front of you. So it's fine. And Ryan Hogg, really chunky tanks. You can like farm your pulse bomb really quickly on them, especially Hogg. What happens here? Your ball's wait. Okay, your ball takes high ground. We drop down. Okay, is the ball doing the... yeah. He's doing a grapple. That's not a very good one. Top's down. No, I think this just plays out pretty... in a very standard fashion. A good finish. Lucky. Good finish. Okay, Taub has swapped to Echo. So that actually still benefits your divey playstyle. So you can... now you got Echo and Tracer to finish off the target's Hammond pile drives. So again, I want to see you like focus on that at least for one fight. Just take high ground and Hammond's been hooked. He's back though. He's going in. It's fine we didn't dive in there because your Hammond dived the Hog and that's not a good target to focus in on, especially when he has hook. Checking Tracer again. Nice. Nice. This subtlety back. You're going behind, that's good. Okay. Oh, we invest beats? Yikes. Oh, we finish off Moira. We finish off Moira there. Okay, back. Okay, I like this part. I like that you finish off the Tracer. Again, that's the playstyle you want, like, you've adopted, as I can see. Yana lands a huge nade. You're harassing the Yana. This is fine. This pulse bomb, do we need to go for it? I mean, look at the situation, like even just based on the kill feed, you've got a hog. I mean, your Echo has just gone hog, you've got a Hammond, you've got an Ana, you've got a Lucio. What do they have? They have an Ana in the fight, they have a Moira in the fight, and Ryan hog. I mean, considering how low the Ana's health is, you could have just not used the pulse and finish her off, but if your pulse did land, that would be good value, and since you can farm it up quickly, I'm not too upset about that. It's fine. It's fine. Ignore that. Let's go. The pulse would have been worth it if you had landed. It's okay. That's fine. You finish her. Target focus. We knew the Moira was super low there. So, like, we should have finished off. Remember, Tracer's super good at finishing off low health targets because of her mobility. And even though the Tracer was... the Tracer did just kind of enter the point. You should have focused on the Moira. Look at her. She's like... She's 57 HP. That was an easy finish for you. So, like... Try to compartmentalize when you want to... No, compartmentalize, no. I mean prioritize. That's the word. Try and prioritize what you want to do. Like, don't be like transfixed on the idea that you have to beat the enemy Tracer first and do everything else later. You need to like finish off low health targets whenever you get the chance. Anyway, let's go on. You lose your beats. I don't like that. Okay, let's speed up. So right now, based on the situation, I think like you are at a disadvantage because you don't really have any ultimates at the ready. I think your Ana can get nano boost in this fight. They already have one. They also have a pulse and are close to an earth shatter. So that means your team is not in a very good position to win this fight. But considering how, like, considering that you can farm up your pulse pretty quickly, I think you can potentially just farm the enemy tanks and build up to one really quickly. Let's see what happens. We try and see who's coming, and from there back up, stay with your Rhine. They use pulse but fail. You're checking Tracer once again. Spot the Rhine coming in. Back up. Take a fire strike. Take high ground. You're very low. You're very low. This is where you fall back to your team. So here's what happened. They failed their pulse bomb. You went to check the Tracer again, which is fine. You spot them coming, you back off, which is the right call. When you take this damage, right, I fully expect you to either blink towards here, or what's your blink situation? You have got a blink and you've got a recall. So I would have expected you to blink back to your tank and try and get healed up by your Ana. Instead, you move left, which is still okay, but again you kind of hang around on the high ground for too long and then get shot by the soldier. Like, I think if you would have retreated faster, your Ana would have been able to keep you alive. Or even when you made it to this high ground, you should have like stayed away from the edges so that the soldier couldn't see you, and maybe the Ana could have healed you from that side. So like, just keep that in mind, yeah. Because you even had a recall. Like, I wouldn't have, like, even a recall would have been worth it if it would have kept you alive. You know, just staying alive for that extra few seconds would have been worth it because you would still be applying pressure on some form or the other to the enemy team. Your Echo is doing a good job, but she gets burst down. So does your Rhine. Your Ball is trying to fight it out. I think you lost this point. You're coming back into the action. Let's see if you go in. Ball's been nanoed. Checking Tracer. Finish Tracer. Finish him, finish him. Oh, unlucky. Well, they wasted Visor. That's good for us. What is your Echo doing? Not a good time to duplicate. Especially not into a soldier. Like, it's never a good time to duplicate into a soldier. Nope. I don't like this. I mean, look, I'm not gonna go back, but I'll point this out. Like, you need to judge how winnable a fight is. Like, even if you think you might be able to clutch it out with that, like, one juicy bomb, it's not worth it since it can throw off your alt economy by a good amount. So in that case, the fight was already kind of lost, and I think we probably knew that. We still invested the pulse bomb, hoped to get something out of it. Didn't quite work out. So yeah, just like slightly poor judgment. I hope we don't repeat that anywhere. Like, yeah, pulse bombs can be farmed up faster, but they also need to get value when you land them, just like any other ability or ultimate. Check Tracer. We can still fire when we are behind the barrier. I mean, we'll still get some amount of hull charge. Excellent beat. That's actually a good beat. Even though your Ana that was like what the, like you couldn't have known. Check Tracer. Oh, you're nanoed. This better be fat, man. No pressure, no pressure. I will go back here. Okay, yeah, this is a good point. So you're checking the Tracer. Still just like fixated on taking her out. She misses pulse. You finish her. Good. What do you do as a nano Tracer? So now you have, given your current cooldown situation, I would say absolutely go for a tank and preferably the Reinhardt, because he, like, Hog has his breather. He might not have it. Right now we don't really know. But like the Rhine, you can just like pulse him and pistol him and he'll probably be gone. Like, that's what I would do. Like, considering that our recall is still coming up, like even those 2 seconds are valuable, and considering that we don't have any blinks, I would totally just go for the closest target and try and finish them off. So with the Reinhardt on the right side, that would be my call. So we take a bit of a gamble, throw it in the middle of the fight, middle of the team. I mean, get hooked, damage, recall. So here, one thing we could have done is just backed out and given them a little more space. The payload is not exactly there yet, and your Ana is back in the fight. or rather, she had been killed, right? And she's right now. Oh no, wait, she nanoed you. So yeah, she's always been there. So you know your Ana is still there. You don't need to contest the cards so aggressively. You can give them a little bit more space. Remember that your spawn is quite close, so you could maybe just back off here, get healed by Ana, stay here, wait for your blinks to recharge, and then you could either just like based on the situation continue shooting the tanks, or go for a cheeky flank here and pressure the enemy Ana and draw out her abilities. So yeah, not a fan of this card contest over here. But sometimes things can get scrappy and confusing, but it's fine. You improve by learning and through mistakes. Is this it? Check tracer. Unlucky. Okay.
Victory.
Okay, I'm not gonna do like that. Okay, Rick. So let's go over the positives first, okay? Firstly, I think the major positive is that you have developed a playstyle. You've kind of have an algorithm for tracer in your head. You check the enemy tracer pretty well. Like, I think you're good at deterring the enemy tracer's aggression, and you kind of make sure that she doesn't harass your backline or get away with being in it for too long. So I think that's good. Like, there are pro tracers out there who who do that as well. I think like Soon is one of the tracers that comes to mind. Loves taking tracer duels, always prefers them over, like always prioritizes them over going into the enemy backline. We have tracers like Sabiobi who are almost always in the enemy backline and don't like take tracer duels. They're more conservative. You're more like Soon, I would say. And I like that you have that playstyle. Slowly as you get better at taking those duels and beating enemy tracers, it's only going to help you. One thing I would say composition wise is that like if you have dive tanks like Hammond and Winston, like who are initiators, it's like really worth it to just follow up on their dives and clean up. Um, like that's I think like one the biggest negative that I found. Like you weren't making use of the synergy in within your comp. Like it's really rare to get a comp as solid as that. I mean, like you rarely even get a main tank sometimes, right? And like having an Ana Lucia backlines, you had a main healer, you had a defensive ultimate, you had like a speed boost for your Rhine. You still had a Winston, Genji, Echo, Hammond. Like all these heroes were in your cast in some combination or the other. You could have just exploited that synergy and finished off backlines. Like I know you said that you like to be in backlines a lot, but you weren't in this particular game. I don't know if that is just like an outlier to that. Um, but I think overall it's pretty good play. I think you're probably just inconsistent. Sometimes sometimes you find it a bit difficult to gauge whether a fight has been won or lost. I think you need to work on that as well. Like determine if you can truly clutch out a fight with your plays. Like using pulse bomb for instance, whom to use pulse bomb on. Like I said in the last fight, you could have just stuck the Rhine with it. He was like super close and you could have just walked right past his shield, pulsed him, burst him down. Um, Also remember like the high ground, especially on points like Hollywood Streets phase is incredibly powerful. Like you can just stay up here, drop down on enemies without using a single blink. Then use your blinks fully and get a pick. Use your recall to get out if the need be, and you'll be back on the high ground. Then you recharge your abilities, maybe poke from the high ground. So like utilize high ground more. Yeah. So in summary, positives. You check the enemy tracer really well. Um, you're also comfortable with like you know when you should be with your tank and kind of shoot at the enemy tanks and pressure them to go back. The negatives are that Yeah, you have to learn to be more so on more on high ground during setups, so that you can have all your abilities when you get into the enemy backline. Uh, Secondly, dive in with your tanks if they have the ability to do so at a spot which you can reach with your blinks. And finally, be more conscious about how winnable a fight truly is and whether your plays can actually turn the tide in your favor. So yeah, that's my review for you. Uh, if you like it, do let me know. If you dislike it, if you think I forgot to point out certain details or get into the like if I misjudged something that happened, definitely do let me know. I'll keep learning with you. Hope this helps. GG's. If you guys like the video, do like it and share it around and subscribe. Bye bye.